Guthrie's Tucson home to search for evidence in her suspected abduction. Thanks for joining us. I'm Caroline Boyer. The Guthries posted the emotional video on Instagram tonight. In the message, they say they want to know for certain whether someone has their mother and that she is safe before they discuss a possible ransom.
We live in a world where voices and images are easily manipulated. We need to know, without a doubt, that she is alive and that you have her. We want to hear from you, and we are ready to listen.
Nancy Guthrie was last seen Saturday night. Authorities found signs of forced entry and deemed the home a crime scene. Turning to the weather, you're looking live at Uptown Charlotte from our Arlington camera. We cannot rule out the possibility of a little dusting of snow in the area. Chief Meteorologist Tara Lane is in the Pinpoint Weather Center. Tara, the mountains may get a little bit more than we'll see in the Charlotte area.
Yes, and they have been seeing some of that here, a little bit of a wintry mix and some snow that's flying from time to time toward the higher elevations. And really, a lot of this is crossing over the northern tier of the state. They had some reports of sleet and graupel, in other words, snow pellets falling around parts of the Triad and down across the Charlotte metro. Just some of the low clouds, fog, and areas of patchy drizzle around. Nothing too substantial when it comes to the rain or snow just yet, but certainly, yes, we could see a little more of that snow or mix dropping down closer to the I-40 corridor and even across parts of the Charlotte metro come early tomorrow morning as you're headed out. You can see on Futurecast here through about 2 o'clock in the morning, signs of a little more snow, a bit of an icy mix possible where you see some of that pink more south and east of Charlotte. It's not going to add up to much. We're still talking about maybe up to an inch toward the high country, but really just kind of a dusting expected through early tomorrow morning if you see it at all. Temperature for now is still just a little bit above freezing, 36 in the Queen City, but we have dropped down to below freezing up in the mountains, and that's why we're again watching out for some slippery spots and slick conditions developing on the roads, bridges, and overpasses into early tomorrow, and points east too. Stanley, Anson, Richmond County under that winter weather advisory through early tomorrow morning through about 10 a.m. or so. Now, coming up in my Pinpoint weather forecast, if you're getting weary of all this just cold weather and abnormally cold conditions and these back-to-back winter storms, and again another little bit of light accumulation possible tonight, we do have a warm-up on the way. I'll show you when that's coming up in just a few minutes.
And you can stay up to date on the winter weather by using the Pinpoint Weather app. It's free to download in the Apple App Store and on Google Play. North Carolina transportation officials are moving forward with what they're calling the least impactful design for new toll lanes on I-77. The state agency plans to build express lanes between I-277 and the South Carolina state line. Transportation leaders say after community feedback, they've decided to go with the elevated express lane option. They believe that will reduce impacts on areas like McCrory Heights, a historically black neighborhood. They also ruled out the option of a tunnel for toll lanes, saying that would cost billions of dollars per mile in construction and maintenance.
Want something? You want a piece of this?
Yeah.
What about the old man?
Yeah, what you gonna do, old man?
Come on, bring it on.
Hey, we're bigger than this. God, this is what...
It's killing me right now.
That's video of Iredell-Statesville school board members' heated argument at their January meeting. Tonight, school board members are offering their apologies, and one has resigned. As Queen City News reporter Shakira Speaks tells us, the remaining board members are divided over further repercussions from that meeting.
School Board Vice Chair Doug Knight opened the meeting reiterating how board members should represent themselves and the district, but he warned if things get uncivil again, he would call a recess and calm everyone down.
This is from Mr. Angel. He says, colleagues, after careful thought and reflection, I am writing to formally resign from my position as a member of the Iredell-Statesville Board of Education effective immediately.
Kevin Angel is now the former board chair of the Iredell-Statesville School Board. He resigned from the panel after a heated exchange with former colleague Mike Kubinek near the end of the group's January 12th meeting.
What you gonna do, old man? What about the old man?
Yeah, what you gonna do, old man?
Come on, bring it on. Come on.
Hey, we're bigger than this. God, this is what...
It's killing me right now.
Tensions got so high, the board clerk had to break things up.
Last meeting wasn't very good for any of us. made the whole board appear dysfunctional, and for good reason. You know, we deserve the bad press.
In his resignation, Angel says the decision to resign wasn't made lightly, but he believed it was the right step. Knight opened Monday's virtual meeting discussing the board's conduct policies, and as the discussion continued, board members called for the censure of Angel, Kubanek, and Anita Kern, another member involved in the exchange. That motion failed on a 3-3 vote.
We all fall short. We all fall short. So how to get better? To me, we got to get on Team ISS. We've got to not be team board member, team political party, team NGO, but Team ISS. Do what's best for the kids, teachers, staff. We say it a lot. I think we mean it, but maybe not always we follow through with it.
Board members will hold an election for their next board chair at their next meeting. Shakira Speaks, Queen City News.
A Charlotte woman has her French bulldog back more than 300 days after the pet was stolen. Julio's story got lots of attention last April when he disappeared after the theft of his owner's vehicle. Jayla Gittens got her car back within days, but not Julio. She offered a reward of up to $7,500 for her dog's recovery. Police officers made arrests connected to the theft, but the charges were dismissed in December for insufficient evidence. Gittens says someone left Julio outside Charlotte-Mecklenburg Animal Care and Control on Friday. The dog is malnourished but is recovering. Authorities are not saying who left Julio at the center. In a statement on Facebook, Gittens says she's grateful whoever had her dog made the right decision to return him. North Carolina Governor Josh Stein plans to make an announcement tomorrow about public safety and behavioral health across the state. The issues are getting more attention in the wake of Irina Zarutska's murder on Charlotte's Blue Line back in August. It led to a new measure called Irina's Law, requiring mandatory mental health evaluations for some violent offenders. We'll have more about the governor's announcement tomorrow on Queen City News. Trump administration officials are reducing the number of immigration agents they have in Minnesota. Border Czar Tom Homan ordered the move as Democrats and Republicans battle over ICE and Border Patrol enforcement measures. Gabrielle Caracciolo reports on the negotiations.
When it comes to immigration enforcement, President Trump told NBC today that his administration could use a, quote, softer touch. The crackdown in Minnesota has been a sticking point for Democrats in Congress.
This is smart law enforcement.
A week after taking over immigration enforcement in Minnesota, Border Czar Tom Homan says 700 officers are leaving the area.
We're not surrendering the president's mission on a mass deportation operation. If you're in the country illegally, if we find you, we'll deport you. But this is about target enforcement operation, and that's what we're going to be doing.
On Capitol Hill,
all of ICE needs to leave Minneapolis now.
Democrats say it's not enough.
Dramatic changes are necessary.
They're demanding immigration officers remove their face coverings, put on body cameras, and end their roving patrols, among other changes.
We're ready to sit down and negotiate but it's got to be strong, it's got to be tough, it's got to rein in ICE in very serious ways and end the violence.
Homan says the department is prioritizing full body camera deployment.
The president's supportive of this decision because we have nothing to hide.
So far, Speaker Mike Johnson has opposed some of the other demands, arguing it would be unsafe for agents to remove their face coverings. Republicans say the president will also play a key role in the negotiations. If they don't reach an agreement on ICE reforms by next Friday, top Democrats in Congress say they will not provide the votes needed in order to fully fund the Department of Homeland Security. In Washington, I'm Gabrielle Caracciolo.
Well, after some rain and areas of fog out there tonight and the rain earlier today, we're now seeing reports of a little more mixing happening. Some reports of snow or sleet, even in parts of the Piedmont. How much of that you could be seeing when you wake up early tomorrow morning and when we will feel, for a change, some spring-like warmth. That's next.
Keeping drivers safe on the road. The North Carolina city putting the brine boss into winter action.
And it froze everything solid. I mean, it froze our pipes for the first time since we've lived here.
Plus, one intracoastal waterway is seeing some backups amidst the frigid cold, how the icy canal is affecting those who live in the area. You're watching Queen City News, the most honored and the most local news in Charlotte. American Airlines will begin added flights between Charlotte and San Jose, California tomorrow to accommodate football fans headed to Super Bowl 60. The added flights to the San Francisco area for tomorrow and Friday depart at 7:15 a.m. and 6 p.m. There will also be added return flights to Charlotte Douglas on Monday. Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara is hosting Sunday's game. Cities across the Carolinas are using new techniques to keep drivers safe on the roads during icy winter weather. In Raleigh, that includes one tool officials call the Brine Boss. They say the vehicles are a huge help to road crews, especially this month. The Brine Boss system automates the mixing process, saving crews time and energy. A new sensor network called Frost Solutions monitors road surface temperatures and slippery conditions across Raleigh. People there say the relief cannot come soon enough.
I've had enough of winter, even though I love snow. I'm ready to move on to spring.
I'm staying inside. I'm getting real tired of the snow. It's very inconvenient for me.
Brine Boss is also used in communities in Ohio, Wisconsin, and Missouri. Recent frigid temperatures are creating major transportation problems along the Intracoastal Highway in northeastern North Carolina. Robert Rizzo talked with people there about their frozen canal.
The view that Scott Romig has of the Intracoastal Waterway that runs through Coinjack is always spectacular, but the frigid temperatures and the wind has made life on the canal a bit difficult.
Blows right down here, and it froze everything solid. I mean, it froze our pipes for the first time since we've lived here. So yeah, it got bitterly cold.
And those bitterly cold temperatures also created a headache for boaters trying to get to and from the Albemarle Sound to the North River in North Carolina.
When a storm blows in here, if we get it from the north, northwest, and northeast, it blows right down here, and it froze everything solid.
Solid enough to make the waterway impossible for boaters. Tanya Gardner shot this video of a barge working its way through the canal, breaking up the ice.
On a north wind, it'll blow the water out of here. And when you got the sounds in the bays freezing over with little sheets of ice, those sheets of ice get pushed into here, and then they'll start backing up at the bridge.
J.D. Robb works at the Coinjack Marina and watched as the barge worked its way up the canal.
The barge had a little bit of a tough time getting through. You know, he came in and then he had to back up a little bit and then start going again. Now, if it was a solid sheet, you know, if it was naturally frozen because it wasn't moving and it just got that cold, he wouldn't have made it through.
The sheet of ice that covered the canal is now gone, and the ice on top is moving fairly rapidly. Rob said the last time the canal was impassable was back in 2018.
Small businesses in eastern North Carolina are calling for neighbors to come out and shop small this week. Several stores and restaurants had to close because of road conditions. One of those businesses, Cooper's Cup in Winterville, was closed Monday on what's usually the start of the business week. The owners reopened yesterday and need help making up for lost sales.
Unlike the big companies, you know, one day wouldn't make a big impact, but for us it does, because just having one day, like I said, paying payroll, utilities, the rent, just paying for the coffee supplies and stuff like that, those bills still come in whether we make income or not.
Other restaurants in the area opened up for East Carolina University students to make up for their forced shutdown on Sunday. You're looking live at downtown Gastonia. We got another taste of snow in some parts of the Carolinas tonight. Tomorrow will be drier. Chief Meteorologist Tara Lane joins me now, and then after that, we're looking forward to quite a warm-up.
Next week is going to feel much different from how it's been feeling here since mid to late January, since about the 23rd. We've had below normal temperatures, and here tonight it's no different. It's pretty chilly out there, 36 degrees, so getting closer and closer to freezing. We're going to be waking up to freezing temperatures, all of us, by early tomorrow morning. So that's why, with all this lingering moisture and from some of that lightly accumulating snow already being reported up in parts of, say, the Taylorsville area and up around Harmony, northern Iredell County, yes, it's going to lead to some slick conditions out there. So this particular winter weather system, much lower impact compared to the past couple of weekends here. A little bit of a higher impact where you see some of that yellow on the map. Of course, in the higher elevations where some of that snow kicked in earlier and temperatures getting a little colder up that way. So slippery conditions possible all around. And yes, it's already impacting parts of the the I-40 corridor. As I mentioned, Iredell County, around parts of Catawba County, maybe seeing some of that light snowy accumulation. Not so much as we head more to the south. And a quick look at radar still shows some of that snow right there along the Virginia-North Carolina border there. We've had reports of a little bit of sleet and graupel mix, and graupel meaning those snow pellets that look like Dippin' Dots almost falling out of the sky, and even down towards, say, northern Cleveland County, and still mostly just scattered rain showers advancing off to the east out there toward Anson and Richmond County. But you all too could see some of those flurries flying late tonight and early tomorrow. Put Futurecast in motion here. Here we are at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. We could be waking up to a swath of snow down into South Carolina, maybe parts of Union County. Again, light accumulation is what we're talking. And some of that, the chance of a little bit of lightly accumulating snow could actually hang on a little bit longer through the morning up until about close to lunchtime or so. But notice how these forecast snowfall total numbers continue to be under an inch. Maybe a little bit higher on the order of 1 to 2 inches up there in the high country in our beautiful North Carolina mountains. But staying chilly today, 47. That was the best we could do for that top temperature, below average. 36 was a low this morning, so we got a little bit of a break from the widespread slippery conditions on the roads, but now that's changing again tonight. We're already approaching freezing there. Salisbury at 33. We've dropped below freezing up in the mountains, so watch for slick areas there. Still sitting in the mid to upper 30s, most of the rest of the region here. But we do have a winter weather advisory in effect for Stanley, Anson, Richmond County because of that threat of some maybe difficult travel early tomorrow as these temperatures drop into the upper 20s in those parts. About 30 in Albemarle tomorrow morning, right down to freezing in the Queen City, and back in the mid-20s up in the mountains and even upper 20s out there in Morganton. Now, behind all of this, everything starts to clear out, and tomorrow afternoon is looking drier, but just know that there is still the chance of snow throughout the morning. So don't be too alarmed if you see that, but it will be drier in the afternoon, maybe some breaks of sunshine, but still only up to about 42 degrees, so a little bit cooler than today. There we are. Even around lunchtime or so, we could have some leftover lighter accumulating snow showers there, especially to the south and east of Charlotte by 7 p.m. over and done with. And then I want to point out another fast-moving system that will bring another round of snow just to the mountains. It looks like this time around, it looks to be mainly a few scattered rain showers by the end of the day on Friday, more to the east of Charlotte. And then the weekend is actually looking dry for a change, but windy and still chilly, especially for Saturday. Starting Monday, that's when temperatures really start to warm up, mid-60s by the middle of next week.
School districts are getting creative after snow days, how administrators are trying to catch up on learning. And it's time to get some gear to rep your favorite team ahead of the big game. What to watch for to avoid buying something bogus. You're watching Queen City News, the most honored and the most local news in Charlotte. All the recent ice, snow, and days out of school are forcing some area school districts to get creative with their academic calendars. Queen City News reporter Matt Stell finds out how administrators are handling that kind of math.
1,800 kids plus actually drive their own cars. So you got to think about student drivers.
Iredell Statesville School Superintendent Jeff James says when it comes to canceling school, the situation is a lot more nuanced than you think.
11,000 students ride our buses out of 21,500. So we have to be able to pick up majority of those kids, but 7,200 of our 21,000 students are in a choice program. So they don't attend school, and typically their attendance boundary.
Between the ice storm and last weekend's record snow, ISS students have been out of school for 8 straight days, with the district already using up all 5 of its remote days allowed by the state.
Never thought we'd use them. Now I'm sitting here going, we should have had more.
We're hearing that ISS is possibly considering maybe having to modify the academic calendar, maybe looking at a shorter Easter break or summer break. Is that true?
I would have to go into the superintendent witness protection plan. If you mess with Easter break, it is wholly in more than one way. We have applied to the state for a waiver to take some of the days that we have been closed and turn them into virtual.
On the opposite side of the Charlotte Metro is Union County Public Schools, which just used its first remote day on Wednesday after building in 25 more instructional hours.
So explain to me why the district may have went that route instead of maybe using the remote days earlier or whatnot.
The state requires 1,025. We had 1,050, so we had 4 extra days.
Either way, both districts agree that they could surely use a few more remote days from leaders in Raleigh.
That's something we've been fighting for a long time, just to have a little bit more flexibility for times like these when we have to make adjustments.
If we do 10, then at least it helps us understand that we can do additional learning at home.
Now, according to this agenda, the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools Board is having a virtual emergency meeting tonight to consider changing February 11th and April 29th from early release days to full school days to stay compliant with state law. In West Charlotte, Matt Stell, Queen City News.
Students within Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools will return to the classroom tomorrow. It'll be their first in-person learning day in nearly 2 weeks. You can follow the latest school changes on our website, qcnews.com. Students at CMS will be in class longer than expected for a pair of school days this year. Winter weather has cost them 9 instructional days since December. February 11th and April 29th were supposed to be early release days for students. Now they'll be full instructional days. Administrators say the normal bus schedules will apply and activities before and after school will go on as planned. A new ICE facility could open in North Carolina, where officials are looking to put the proposed detention center. And a Colorado driver now faces DUI charges, but it's what police found in the trunk of his vehicle that shocked them. You're watching Queen City News, the most honored and the most local news in Charlotte. Federal officials may be considering Greensboro for the location of a new ICE detention facility. Melissa Rademacher talked to the city's mayor about the proposal and where the center could be located.
And I would certainly hope that someone would reach out to us well prior to that even being considered. So as of this moment, we have no knowledge.
Greensboro Mayor Mary Kay Abuswader says what she does know is the former American Hebrew Academy campus has very specific zoning for educational use, and that would not coincide with an ICE detention center. Former Mayor Nancy Vaughn remembers the stipulations.
When that property was rezoned, it was very heavily conditioned, what was allowable and what wasn't allowable. And I can tell you that a detention center, I am sure, was not an allowable use.
Abuswader assures people the city would likely be very involved in a zoning change, and it would be publicly discussed.
It would need to come before the city council to be rezoned for a different usage, yes. So that in itself would be a rather lengthy process. I don't think the community or any of us would want something like that in the midst of Greensboro. You know, maybe I'm going out on a little bit of a limb here, but that is the feeling of the community.
After the boarding school closed, the Hebrew Academy did lease the land to the federal government. It was intended to house unaccompanied migrant minors before reunification and would involve education at the facility. But it was never used, and the contract expired last spring. Former Mayor Vaughn says neighbors were vocal about that change.
I know that a lot of work was done working with that association to get them comfortable with the unaccompanied minor portion. I think it's going to be a real heavy lift to get somebody comfortable with a detention center right in their backyard.
The mother of a confessed mass shooter is expected to return to the stand in a Raleigh courtroom tomorrow. Today was day 2 of Austin Thompson's sentencing hearing. The 18-year-old pleaded guilty to killing 5 people during a 2022 rampage. During her testimony, Elise Thompson addressed her son directly and spoke to the families of the victims. She also recounted when police told her about her son's actions.
I remember a male detective sitting there and he said, Austin did this. And, you know, you don't think of that. That's your child. You're like, what? And they're like, Austin did this. He left a note. And I'm like, you know, you're just not comprehending what's happening to you.
Right.
You know, you try, and then they were, I don't even remember what questions they were asking me.
A few of Thompson's teachers also testified today, saying he was acting normal hours before the shooting, but they also said he was known to play first-person shooter games during classes.
Hi there.
Hello.
I'm Officer Kessler of the Westminster Police Department. Any idea why I'm stopping you today?
Because I was acting like an idiot.
Colorado police officers arrested a man today accusing him of driving drunk with 3 children in the trunk of his car. Officers posted video of the traffic stop on social media. The driver originally agreed to a field sobriety test, but they arrested him after he changed his mind. That was right around the time when investigators say they learned 3 children were in the trunk. North Carolina is starting to catch up on last year's DMV wait times. One of those changes includes only being able to book appointments a week in advance as opposed to 3 months. Harrison Grubb tells us how the adjustments are being implemented and the effect they're having.
A quiet day at the DMV on Spring Forest Road in Raleigh.
It was decent, it was good, fast.
A pleasant surprise for Isaiah Tillery, who didn't have an appointment.
It's faster than Greenville, too. Usually in Greenville, you're sitting there for about 30 minutes, a couple hours waiting on the ID, so it's pretty quick.
It comes as the DMV continues taking steps to cut down on wait times and improve efficiency, including hiring more staff and changing the walk-in process.
Things are getting better. We've made a lot of progress over the last 8 to 10 months. We still have a long way to go. You know, we're not taking a victory lap or anything like that.
The latest move, changing the time frame for online appointments. Now drivers will only be able to book a week in advance instead of 3 months.
It allows us on the DMV side to be a little more nimble with adjusting our calendar and doing things like that, trying to divert demand to certain offices that may have more capacity, driving more appointments to them.
DMV Communications Manager Marty Homan says there will still be the same number of daily appointments, more than 3,000 statewide.
Appointments are an option. We now have more appointments that are released each day now that the calendar has caught up. And so that's still a great option, but you don't need to have an appointment to come to the office.
Votes for a North Carolina Republican Senate candidate in next month's primary will not be counted. That's the ruling after today's meeting of the state elections board. A Republican voter questioned whether Margot Dupree is a North Carolina resident and eligible to run. Evidence shown in today's meeting revealed Dupree ran for an Idaho Senate seat in 2024 and voted in a Florida election last year. Dupree says she's been here since July and will buy property, but for now has her address listed as a UPS store in Charlotte. Dupree told officials she lives in a camper and has no plans to leave the state.
The fact that I use a Charlotte UPS address, not a P.O. box, and I registered to vote in address or in Charlotte, and I registered my intention to run for U.S. Senate with my Charlotte address, and my abandoning my rights to vote in any other state also proves my intent to remain.
Dupree is one of 7 Republicans running in the March primary. She can now take this issue to court. Super Bowl merchandise is always a hot commodity, but authorities are warning people to exercise caution when they buy that merch because of counterfeit items. Mick Miller shares the warning signs for fake gear.
There's something special about going to a Super Bowl, and if you're lucky enough to attend the biggest sporting event of the year, it's natural that you want to buy some merchandise that you can remember for a lifetime. However, you have to be vigilant in some of the things that you buy because there are a lot of scammers out there. Take a look. This entire display of hats, shirts, jerseys, rings, and more, all Fugazi. And it's just a sample of the sham souvenirs seized by U.S. Customs and Border Protection. The agency says last year it seized 300,000 fake NFL items worth a total of $33 million. They also stress that this is far from a victimless crime.
Counterfeit merchandise may look like a bargain, but it comes with real risks. Unsafe materials, poor quality, it hurts local vendors, it threatens American jobs, exposes fans to unsafe and substandard products, and even links to criminal activity.
Some quick tips: make sure that you only shop at trusted retailers. Also, you can check the stitching and proper markings, and you know the old saying, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Reporting at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, California, I'm Mick Miller.
Parents testified on Capitol Hill alongside actor Joseph Gordon-Levitt to demand social media reform. They're calling for lawmakers to end legal protections for big tech. Raquel Martin shares the message to Congress.
The last search on Carson's phone before he ended his life was for hacks to find out who was doing this to him.
Kristen Bride calls it the darkest day of her life. In 2020, her 16-year-old son, Carson, died by suicide. The cause, she says, cyberbullying on YOLO, an app later purchased by Snapchat.
The second darkest day was meeting with a local attorney. The attorney told me that I had no legal recourse because social media companies are immune from lawsuits.
Bride, who first shared her story on Capitol Hill in 2023, returned Wednesday, joining other parents of victims and actor Joseph Gordon-Levitt, all demanding justice.
There should be nobody voting to give any more impunity to these tech companies.
They say Congress must eliminate a federal law known as Section 230, which ensures social media companies cannot be sued for content posted on their platforms. Social media companies have long fought the effort, arguing it'll open the floodgates for costly lawsuits and ultimately suppress free speech. Democratic Senator Dick Durbin is demanding more public hearings to ramp up pressure on undecided lawmakers.
They can stand up and decide whose side they're going to be on.
The bill, which would end Section 230 in 2 years, has bipartisan support.
Every parent I talk to is scared to death of what their kids are encountering online.
Durbin says he wants the bill passed and on the president's desk this year. In Washington, Raquel Martin.
South Carolina hospitals are taking extra steps to prevent the spread of the measles as the upstate outbreak grows. Starting tomorrow, Prisma Health facilities will require masking for all patients older than 2 years old, including pregnant women. Measles is one of the most contagious airborne viruses and can cause severe complications, including pneumonia and death.
People who may have a known exposure or clinical illness compatible with measles. It's very important that we get them into a private space.
There are 876 cases of the measles in upstate South Carolina. Experts recommend getting the MMR vaccine for protection against the illness. North Carolina health officials are releasing a new tool to track measles cases. They've confirmed 15 since December, with the first hospitalization announced last week. Officials are launching text notifications for potential measles exposures. In addition to texts, people may be contacted by local health departments or a state outreach team member via phone call, email, or in-person visit. New federal work requirements are in place for South Carolina SNAP benefit recipients. There are new guidelines determining who is eligible for certain benefits. Hannah Baker looks at those changes.
New federal requirements for SNAP benefits are now in effect, putting stricter regulations in place for some of the nearly 500,000 South Carolinians who rely on the program. The guidelines expand work requirements for SNAP beneficiaries. Under the new rules, able-bodied adults between ages 18 and 64 who do not have dependents must work or take part in a job program for at least 80 hours a month, totaling about 20 hours a week. Previously, the upper age limit was 54. Those who do not comply could lose their benefits after 3 months. Some exemptions have also changed. Adults caring for teens ages 14 to 17 must now meet work requirements, unless they qualify for another exemption. Caretakers of children under 14 remain exempt. Veterans, homeless individuals, and young adults who age out of foster care are also no longer exempt. More than 500,000 South Carolinians receive SNAP benefits, and nearly half of those recipients are children, and about a quarter are over the age of 50. The Lowcountry Food Bank tells me with these changes officially in effect, they expect to see an increased demand for food assistance as these changes roll out, and they're working ahead of time to meet the need.
We are doing everything that we can to make sure that we have the food on hand to provide to our pantries. As the cost of food goes up, we experience the same thing. And so we are working very hard, fundraising to make sure that we can purchase food that isn't donated to us, trying to be strategic about how we purchase the food and where we place it throughout the 10 counties that we serve.
As these changes are officially in effect statewide, the Lowcountry Food Bank says they will continue to work around these changes and provide support to those in need.
We went from just some plain rain or drizzle earlier today now to seeing a little bit more snow or an icy mix over parts of the area. So far, piling up just a little bit in north and west of Charlotte. How much we could see when we wake up tomorrow morning and when we'll feel some warmer temperatures. That's next.
A place to find community when people are down to their last options. The North Carolina Ministry giving a helping hand to those in crisis. You're watching Queen City News, the most honored and the most local news.